Hello everyone, Rolling Heritage over here. If you don't know me, my name is Stefan and I own Rolling Heritage. This is a classic car shop, garage, I want to call it. I do mainly Volvos and I do normal work, repairs, electrical, mechanical, engines, and I do a lot of welding on these classic Volvos. So this customer car is a Volvo 240 from the year 1982. But this thing has some rust. And I talked to the owner and the owner gave me permission to film this video. So I thought, why not do this and take you guys on the trip of welding this Volvo 240 today. So let's take a look around this car and see what is actually all wrong with this thing. So over here we have the trunk of the car and you can immediately see what we need to do. We have a very nasty corner over here which is completely rotted through. We have a edge of the spare tire place and that is all completely rusted out. As you can see, you can just look straight through there. Then we go underneath this lip over here. This is all completely gone and completely rotted through. And then over here we have some last holes. And the bad thing is that this inside post is also completely gone, as you can see over there in the bottom. And this piece you see over here is actually a 3-piece panel. So you have this panel, you have an inside panel, and you have an underside panel. So we have some panels from the owner. So if I'm correct, this one is for this corner. So we can take out this piece and weld in this new piece. And luckily this corner is fully okay. So we can take that little edge, we can weld that into the corner over there. And then we can remake this piece out of this panel over here into a new one. So we can also take this full corner, this full edge you see over here, and we can weld that into this spot. So that's the second piece that we got. And then we get to this. So this is actually also from a donor car. And this is that lower edge, which we need to replace. So this thing is pretty toast, as you can see on the corners. So over there and this complete corner over here. But the thing we cannot buy is we can buy this little lip you see over here. We do have that new, but we cannot buy this one. So we need to take all these spot welds out of here, save this one, weld that into the car, and then we can weld in the new lower lip and weld in a new top piece. So this one is actually a full piece for the spare tire wheel well. So that piece you see over there is actually the full piece that goes over here. And look at, there goes my light. Look at this. We have this panel. And this panel runs all the way to there. And it runs all the way to the top. So sadly, this thing is not fully, completely over the edge. So it just runs until the middle. But this is what we have to work with. So we have this panel and we need to take that one out and see how that goes. And the bad thing about doing these things is that we also have these holes to keep in mind, because we need those for the clamp where this tailgate latch is sitting in. It's sitting in this point with a metal bracket. For now, I'm just gonna go and get this all cleaned up on both of these edges. So we're gonna start with this one and this one. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the way. So we have cut out a huge chunk over here, and somewhere in the trunk over here I have that cut out piece from the donor car. So I've cut this one out as clear as I can, and if we hold this thing somewhat like so, you can see now the edge runs great. Over here it looks great, and this is how it goes in. But like always, it's always just weld a corner. It's never just weld a corner, because this piece is connected to this piece. This piece is completely routed through underneath here. So before I can weld in this piece, I need to first fix this piece. Before I can fix this piece, you can see an edge over here, which runs like this. So yeah, the red line is actually a panel. You can see a cut over here with a folded edge over here, and there's another one over here which is completely hammered to shit. This is another piece. So before I can do this piece, I need to do this piece. But before I can do this piece, I need to do this piece. Before I do this piece, I need this piece. And also I need to do this piece before I can do this piece. Do you still follow it? So the first thing we need to do is figure out how to fix this one. Yeah, there is a weird thing going on. We have this beam. So if I can maybe put my light like that, we have this beam. And this beam is the middle section of this. So I think the easiest way for you guys to understand is to maybe just draw it. So to make it understandable for you guys, you have the underside of the car. And that is, of course, this piece. This is the underside of the car. Then you have the top piece, which kind of runs like so. So this is the top. This is that's the top and the bottom piece. So the top piece is this one. The bottom piece is this one. But in between there, we have this one. And that's the other plate. So that plate is actually somewhat like this. And it runs all the way like so. And then this is pinch welded here, and this is welded there. And that is what making the whole thing. So that edge, this one, is the one that we need to cut out. And how the hell are we gonna get in there to weld that? Yes, that's day 2 of this project. And we are now gonna continue with this thing. And I'm not feeling it. So yesterday we've talked about this piece. So to fix this piece, which is just a stuck-on panel from factory, we need to first fix this one. To fix this one, we first need to take off this one. But to fix this whole corner, we have to fix this one. To fix this one, we need to take out the complete bottom side. And then we get to this. So to fix this one, we also need to take off this one. And we are doing this whole job to fix this one. So eventually it just comes to this, that we're gonna take out all this scrap and just do it all at once and hope for the best that everything stays centered. And the good thing is that we didn't move the tailgate. So as long as the tailgate gaps are all flush along the way, then we're golden. But sometimes it goes like this and you just have to work around everything. So the bad thing about this whole job is that if we look into here, and I hope you guys can see it if I turn on a light, that edge, which I talked about earlier, this one, we need to undo that full edge from this point all the way over to this point, and every single spot weld needs to go so we can take off this inner piece. And the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna first cut along this edge and all these holes for the trim piece, and we're gonna cut all the way across this edge, and that will mean that we have this lower piece already taken apart. Then we can hopefully cut away the centerpiece because I'm not going to use it anyway. And then when that is gone, we can hopefully smack it a bit outwards so we can reach that edge with that new belt sander I got. So that's the plan for now. I'm going to cover up the car a bit because, yeah, that's how I like to work, and yesterday was just a bit of cutting and grinding inside corners, so not much dirt and debris gets off there. But for now we're gonna cover up the windows because we don't want weld splatter or grinding stuff on those. Gonna cover up the tailgate, and we're just gonna make sure this car stays nice and stays clean, and yeah. Guys, yeah, that is a lot of work to get a bit of metal out of this thing. It's all so tucked in together and it's just a pain to get to the spot welds. But we're getting somewhere, I feel like, so that's a good thing. Take a look at this, you can clearly see that we have this piece now a bit more cut out, but this edge is what we need to work with. So we have cut out the whole piece all the way until here. So what is the next step for now? Well, we're gonna leave all this like this right now because we need to see what we need to cut out from this piece, because there are some like rusty bits and rusty pieces in here, so we need to cut that out. But the bad thing is that my new panel, which the customer gave to me, this thing is actually running halfway these, like, yeah, dimples, how you want to call them, I don't know. But those things are over, where are they? Here. So we have the panel to halfway here. So what are we gonna do with that? I mean, that's just a shitty point. I really love when they make a panel that just runs like the complete width, so that you have the complete beam, that you don't have to weld in this beam or anything. That would be amazing. But sadly, we don't have that, and we have to work with what we got. So we're gonna leave this one here for now. I'm gonna get the torch. I'm gonna torch this plate clean. Then I'm gonna take out the spot welds of this little piece on top of here. Yes, we're gonna do that, not now. So yes, and then when that is out, when this plate is gone, I really hope that I can clean up this little edge, take off this little plate, then take out the rest of that inner piece, and then we can like make a plan of fabricating a new inner piece. And we're gonna do that with that donor car piece we have over here. But the bad thing about this piece is that it looks pretty decent, as you can see, but the edge doesn't. So So, you guys are a bit closer now, and you can watch with me. You can see all these shiny spots. And now we just take a hammer and we push it between the panels. It's a bit hard clamping this thing down without completely ruining it, but you saw that. And now we can just fold it over a bit and push this thing in. Plop, you saw it pop out of there. That one is loose. So we have it completely loose until here. Going back to this one. That's one. That's one. Oh my god, I love this tool. This belt cylinder, guys, it's so great. So that means that our top piece, so this piece, is now completely detached from the thing we need. We need to do the same thing for all these ones. So all the spot welds on this one. Guys, yesterday evening a couple of customers came by, so eventually I didn't continue on this blue 240, but I did make up my mind. I went online and I found out that indeed the model years have been different on these actual parts. So of course cars above me, the piece we took out went all the way up to here and all the way up to here. The new piece, which we took out of a literal car, because that gold piece is from a donor car, and that is from the 90s. It is exactly what we thought. The 90s cars have a panel which run to here, and the 80s cars have a longer panel. So the thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get that 90s panel, we're gonna completely prep that. So the corner which is damaged over there, we're gonna replace that. We're gonna clean up the whole edge, see if it's any good, and if it doesn't work, then we can just make a new lip on there or make a whole new panel. But I don't want to make a whole new panel for a panel which is in between somewhere, because if it's still solid and sound and will work, then we're gonna use that, because we have a very tight budget on this thing. So for now, I am gonna leave the car alone. This is all just gonna stay like this, and we're gonna go on the new workbench and we're gonna prep up this whole complete panel. So I'm just gonna hit the time lapse because I am in a hurry today. I need to do so much things, and as I said, we are on a very tight budget, and you guys like time lapses or what I do. So let's go and let's hit the time lapse. So I finished this one off camera, and you can see this looks great. So there is a huge new corner all the way in like this, and this looks just pretty, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna cut this panel out, hit the time lapse again, and I will talk to you guys when I have this panel ready. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the car over here. And as you can see, I have used that little belt sander to get really into this upper beam, which we partially need to keep in there. And I primed every single bit. And I removed as much of rust that I could remove. And I'm pretty happy on how this looks. So this also means that we have, oh, I'm blinding myself, a panel over here, which we have welded. So I hope you guys can see this. So this panel looks very original now. So I'm just going to slide it by so you can get a good look of it. And I have welded in a piece over here and a strip over here. And as you can see, all the edges are very freaking nice, and this is just a pretty nice panel to get in there. I did have some issues on this side, which I talked about earlier. Hope you guys can see it. These are some very small like dents and dimples where some of the rust still was, but I cannot buy this panel, so we have to work with this, and this is perfectly fine to go in the car. So how this thing sits. You have this panel on top. This is the new one, this black one, which is clamped down by these clamps. And the old one is still behind there, but I'm just scribing it off and cutting it to get it to fit as good as possible. And then when it fits properly, we can then cut out the whole original thing that we don't need anymore and weld this thing in. When this thing is in there, we can match it up with this one. And then eventually we can cut away this big, very weird, and then we can make it flush all the way up there, because the new replacement panel for the bottom also fits complete like shit. So yeah, it makes me angry. But yeah, that's what you have to work with these cheap replacement panels. to get this panel, we have this edge, this lower bent lip, and we're gonna get that lip in here, and then we're gonna make that fit like so. And then we're gonna move it a bit to this side, and look how this fits. It just slides right in there. So, this is a very tough day, but we're getting somewhere, guys. We are really getting somewhere. We have a fully welded in beam. I've also welded in a panel on the side over here, which I talked about earlier. This is some kind of pillar in the rear, and it runs all the way down, and it should connect up to that lower beam. And I cut that one out of the spare panel and welded that in, as you see here. The next thing we need to do is to weld in that taillight section. And I found a pretty good way to do this, a pretty easy way. So I'm sorry that I'm using the wide angle lens, but I don't have much room here. This is the piece that we cut out earlier. And those little stripes are actually the markings where it needs to go. So this is the panel which I welded in, as you see. That looks very nice and original. All the curves are nice. I did give it some tack welds to this one, and there is a lower lip onto there, which will also be welded onto this one. And then this panel is going to connect all the way up to here, and also close this piece off because it will run like a centimeter on the edge. This thing was a bit smaller, like 2 centimeters, but I cut the bad part out, and I'm just going to make this overlay piece 2 centimeters wider than it was, and that will take away all the rust. Over here we took out all the rust, and this panel, look at this. If we take our big ass magnet and we take our panel, then it should somewhat pop in like so. And as you can see, the curvature of this edge will run nicely into there. We can weld it off here, and I really hope for the customer that we are not ruining a bit of paint over here, but I can't do anything else. The rust was literally in this spot. This whole corner was rusted out, as you see here. So I cannot weld this car and save every single bit of paint, sadly, but that's something the customer has to deal with. I don't do paint in here or anything. I only weld cars, and then the cars will go to a paint shop, body shop, which the customer chose, or they do it themselves. But this is the one that we are gonna weld in right now. We have a little bit of a gap to fill on the bottom, but yeah, the panel wasn't any bigger, and this one wasn't also any bigger. So, and this one was gone. So, we are working with what we have. So guys, I did a lot of off-camera stuff. This car is pretty tough, to be honest. It's a very, very, very tough spot to weld, and I'm just completely toast. But these replacement panels are complete shit, so that doesn't help at all. I did found out that the sticker of that lower piece, which didn't have like the bump A240 has, that piece, it has a sticker of a 140 instead of a 240, and I didn't get those panels myself. I got them from the customer. Maybe the company says, hey, they're the same car. Much of those replacement panels are like made in a way that they can fit in a 140 and in a 240, but this was just complete. And I need to go over every single weld, which I have been working on for the past 3 hours of welding this thing in, and I can go over everything again. Sorry for the car noises. That's Jeroen, a friend of mine with a very big V8. I need to go over every single weld again, but the centerpiece is in for like halfway. I need to do the spot welds on top, but it's in halfway. So this is what we are working with. We have the taillight section completely done. We have this full beam in there until here. The top is all welded and nice. And over here we have some very ugly welds for now, but that is where this panel is right now. The bad thing, like I said, I need to go over all these welds again, because when grinding them away, since the new replacement panel is so weak and the original panel is also very weak, I'm just not happy on how this turned out. Because if I get my flashlight behind here, you can see 2 little pinholes over there, a couple pinholes over there, a couple over there, one huge one over there, which is very visible. And then a couple smaller ones over there and over there. Here a bunch, which is a corner. And then some very small and light ones over there. I will see you guys tomorrow, or Monday, I mean. And Monday we're gonna fix the left side and then go on to the right side. So guys, there we are again. I put some primer on here to see if we have everything welded up. As you can see, I spot welded, plug welded. I keep saying spot welded, of course this is plug weld because you plug the hole with weld. But this is what we did. This panel is completely in there. Very strong, very sturdy. So very nice. So the thing I'm gonna do now is, because I primed this, you can see, this is not a hole, but you can see if there are any pinholes in here, and I already thought I welded all of them up, but I still found like maybe 2 or 3 of them. So this is it, this is what we have, and I'm pretty okay with it. It's pretty decent for a 140 panel in a 240. It's not very flat eventually, but yeah, it will be more than fine, more than fine. So that's what you have to do when you are crafting a 140 panel in 240. For now, for today, I would really like to have this one black and finished, but we can't do that because we still need to do this panel and I also need to do this panel. So time-wise, I'm running out of time. I have around 5 hours left tomorrow if I work today until like 6 o'clock. So I'm gonna make a small little band which runs over here. I'm gonna weld that up all the way around, and then when that's done we can then make the final patch which goes over the top, and that will then finish off this whole complete edge. So the panel that goes on top will fold forward and then will be connected up to here. I can shove it in between this little gap that we have left and weld it all up. Then I'm gonna run, when it's done, I'm gonna run a little bit of seam sealer in this edge over here, all the way up to here. And then this thing will be golden for another 30 years. So guys, the panel has been made and we're gonna weld this one in. And then afterwards we're gonna make the other panel. Let's go. So over there we have the car. I fixed this corner over here a bit more because it needed to come up on this edge. And over here I have a panel which I made with a lot of cuts, and also a cut in my arm because of a Dodge Ram fan. Yeah, this is what I made. This one fits something like so. And that's what we are working with. So I'm gonna get this one in, and I will talk to you guys afterwards. Ladies and gentlemen, brand new day. It's Tuesday, and today we have finished off the left side and the centerpiece. Well, actually, we did it yesterday, but this morning, like an hour ago, I sanded everything down. I fixed some little pinholes which were still in the middle piece, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the work that we did. So starting from this side, we still have these holes, and we still have that bad spot over there, that whole edge. But then we get to this part. So we have a new top piece, as you can see, and when the paint hits it, you can really see what's flat and what isn't. But the weld that we did is completely over here. Well, on the top, runs all the way down here, all the way over to there, all the way over to there, then goes down, then goes all the way up here into there. And this looks all pretty nice. I didn't grind down these spots. Why I didn't? Well, I don't know. I just thought it doesn't really matter if I grind these away or not, because there is a piece of trim which goes on top of here. And then we get to this corner, which runs very nice and flat all the way over to the edge. The original weld from this panel is still in here. And yeah, then it runs up all the way nicely into that corner, nicely up to the top. And also on the bottom, this edge runs also very nice over there. And yeah, I'm pretty happy. We also did, of course, this panel on the inside. We have welded that. We put a new piece in over there. And if we take a look over here, you can see that center piece, which I welded in between there. These are the welds on the inside. Cleaned them off. Cleaned most of them off. Pretty happy with how they came out. We need to fix those huge holes. So yeah, we need to take out this whole wheel well. So I put up my Milwaukee light over here. This is actually a bonnet light, but I think this might give me some more light in this tiny corner. And hopefully for the next videos, we're gonna put a new light right over there. I'm just gonna roll the time lapse again. I'm gonna make some room in the corner, so you guys will be standing over here and look at it from this way. So we did a lot of work, as you saw in the time lapse. And over here we have a pretty alright fitting, yeah, what is it? Spare tire wheel well, which doesn't hold a spare tire because of this thing, because the spare tire is gonna go over there. But yeah, you get the point. This thing is in pretty well. We took the old one out by just sanding away all those old spot welds. As you can see over here, all the old spot welds are gone. And on the side over here, all the spot welds. And this thing came off pretty easy. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully the last day. So, as you can see behind me, we have a pretty decent fitting rear wheel well. So, what do we need to do to finish this car off? It's very hard filming with these very bright windows over here, but I hope you guys will accept it. But over here we have that rear wheel well. As you can see, if we clamp it down over here, we can just do that on camera, because why not? We take one of these, we pinch that down. You can see that's workable. We can clamp that down and weld that together. That's fine. Then I cut off this lower edge, and I didn't cut it off all the way. I did that so I can drill some holes into here and spot weld it to here. Plug weld it, spot weld it, and then maybe even run a couple of beads underneath here to seal it off. Then we're gonna put some seam sealer over there, and that will be done. Then we also have this corner over here, which we need to fill up and smack down a bit, but it's not exactly in the right position. This one needs to come down a bit, and then this whole thing needs to shove up a bit. But as you can see over here in the corner, it's flush. Over here, it's all very nice, and that will be done very soon, very quick. I mean, that means everything will be done. And then when everything is done on that side, and also welded up on this side and on this side all the way down, then for the last piece of this puzzle, we're gonna cut out a chunk over here, then down, and then down to the corner. So it will run around like so. And then we're gonna cut it away from here, and we're gonna run that whole panel down, weld that panel in, and then this corner will be done. Let's go, guys. Look at this. We have the panel all screwed in. As you can see over there, we have a very nice edge we can weld. This edge will be smacked down later on. We have the screws over there. We have some screws over here. So we're gonna weld this side from the inside first. Then we take out the screws and we fill up the holes with the screws from the outside. And of course, this one will be completely welded. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. Go back in your corner, guys. Go back in the corner. Come on, go back in the corner. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, brand new day, got a haircut, the car is ready, car has been picked up. So yeah, another one done, another job done. And next week we will film everything we need to weld on this car. I can't wait, pretty excited to work on the 140 again. And of course, do even more welding than we already have done. But I want to thank you guys for watching, and of course I'm gonna roll some clips of the final finished product. Not painted, not any undercoating, because that's all things the customer is gonna do. But yeah, this is it. Did a lot of welding, and I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in again. Subscribe, like, and definitely leave a comment underneath here to hit up the algorithm. And yeah, like I said, subscribe, it's free. So yeah, you just help me out and you'll get a notification when I drop a new video every Sunday. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.